Hi, thank you so much for joining us today for Power Up with Canvas for Elementary. My name is Brenda Gillis, and also with me is Dorothy Carlson. We are two of your Poway Unified Educational Technology coaches. And today we are here to provide some support with Canvas, and we do work with teachers through both the Voyager and Elevated programs, as well as providing professional learning and support with educational technology and innovative instructional practices. So you can reach our team at any time at edtech@powaysd.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are on Instagram and we have a YouTube channel with a lot of very helpful video tutorials available for you. We are going to be recording this webinar and the chat is disabled for now, but please remember you can reach us at any time at that email address, edtech@powaysd.com. The resources we're going to be sharing today can also be found on the Canvas Mix course. I'll show you how to get there in just a moment. For today's agenda, we are going to be going over how you can use the settings within your Canvas course. Dorothy's going to talk about the variety of assignment types, including Google integrations, which is wonderful. It makes copies for students when you provide a Google embedded template. We'll also talk about how to import a template from Commons to get started with your Canvas course. And we'll do some discussion about how you can use Gradebook in your elementary classroom as well. So again, all of these resources are available for you in the Canvas Mix course. You should find this on your dashboard within Canvas. If you don't see it on your dashboard, you can click on courses and then select all courses. And the resources are found at this link towards the bottom of the page for Canvas webinars. So we'll have a link to this recording that we'll post, as well as the slide deck with some links to all of the topics that we're going to cover so that you have access to step-by-step guides. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into a course here. And we're going to take a look at our course settings. Course settings are located in the in-course navigation at the very bottom. So if you click on settings, it's going to take you to a page with several different tabs across the top. The course details page is where you can set your course card or add an image to it. This can help your students identify your course very easily on their Canvas dashboard. You'll see the name of your course, the term. You'll also notice that you have the ability to select whether students and families have access to your course just along the term date, so for the school year, or at the course level, and you can have a little bit more control over the accessibility there. So if you want to have your students have access to your course beyond the end of the school year, you can make adjustments there. You can also select a couple of things towards the bottom of this settings page. If you want to use announcements within Canvas, you can have those appear on the course homepage and select how many of those you'd like to show at one time. You can also control whether or not students have access to create their own discussion topics, edit or delete their own discussion replies, and or organize their own student groups. So those are some features that you might want to take a look at, and make sure that any changes you make on this page, you hit that update course details at the bottom to make sure that those changes are saved. In your sections, you'll see your course there, and this is where enrollment is managed through Synergy. So you can see that that is a Synergy managed course, and that all of the enrollments, including the parents and families who have educational rights, are enrolled in your course automatically through Synergy. So you don't need to worry about access for them. Navigation is the next tab over, and this is a great place to really streamline the appearance for your students. For example, McGraw-Hill, that's a secondary resource within our district, so my students don't need that. I'm just going to click on the three dots and then hit disable. that will take that navigation piece out of that blue in-course navigation. I'll still see it as the instructor, but I'll see it with this little eyeball icon crossed out. So I know that it's not visible or accessible to students. Um, you can really trim down those distractions for your students by removing a lot of these navigation options that they just aren't going to be using at that level. One that I really want to draw your attention to is the chat feature. You want to make sure that that is in the disabled section. So you'll see up at the top, I can click and drag and arrange the navigation for my students. And then down here, you'll see the ones that are hidden from students, and it actually says right underneath it that it's disabled and that students won't be able to access. But this chat feature is a communication piece. You're going to want to make sure that that's turned off because you won't be notified about it, even though students can interact that way. So you want to make sure that one's turned off. You're going to want to make sure that you have your curriculum resources enabled. So for example, I have the illustrative math down here. I want to make sure that's enabled. I might want to click and drag it towards the top to make it more easily accessible for my students. And again, I would just want to make sure that I'm disabling the ones that they are not going to use. The TCI, so your social studies curriculum, is also in here, as well as Benchmark Universe, your ELA curriculum. So you're going to want to make sure that those are enabled while also minimizing those distractions that your students don't need. Again, at the very bottom of the page, make sure that you click on Save to make sure that those navigational pieces stick in your course. The Apps tab, you really don't need to worry about. The integrations are really managed for you by our team. So you shouldn't need to make any changes here. A lot of them are locked down and not a lot of options for you to customize those. Feature options, however, is a great place to customize. So I'm going to jump into a different course just to get to that page. I'm not sure why it's not displaying on that one. It is in settings and then feature options. And this is where Canvas pushes out a lot of the new updates that are coming. You'll see them listed as feature previews. And if they are available for you to toggle on, they'll appear on this page. Anything that I have enabled shows up with a green check mark. Anything I'm not using is off with that red X. I can always try things out too. And if you decide that you don't like them, you can switch them back to the off position. If you're not sure what a feature is, you can click on that little caret and get a description. Some of them also have links to additional information about those features. A couple that I want to point out to you, assignment enhancements is a great way to help your students pace their way through assignments where they may be turning in multiple versions. And it keeps a nice timeline for them and gives them some additional options for responses. Another one is enhanced rubrics, which provides clickable rubrics within the grading features available within Canvas, as well as the student ability to self-evaluate based on a rubric, which can be a really powerful tool for them as well. So you can see a lot of different options in there. Another one that's new is submission stickers. So you can actually, if you have the assignments feature turned on, the assignment enhancements for students, you can also add stickers to the feedback, which is just another fun way of interacting with your students in that feedback loop. Integrations, if you click on that, there's nothing there, nothing for you to worry about. Again, we manage the integrations for you with our team. And with that, I am going to pass it over to Dorothy, who's going to dive into assignments.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. All right, let's head back over to our training course, and then assignments is in that left hand in course navigation. So Brenda is going to click on assignments. And you'll see I've created a few assignments, so I've got a nice list. If you haven't created assignments before, this list will be blank, and that's okay. To create an assignment, we'll go up to the top right corner and click assignment. And then this is the assignment editing page. It'll look the same for any assignment that you create. You give it a name, and then in that big box, that's your rich content editor. So this is a great place where you can add all kinds of information that's helpful for your student. So you can add directions here. You can add media here. So maybe you've got little learners that are need maybe a verbal or a visual explanation, you can click that add media and upload or record yourself explaining what the assignment is just by clicking that button. You can add pictures, you can add video, you can add YouTube videos. There's all kinds of really rich content that you can add here. So Brenda just clicked that YouTube icon, and then there's all kinds of great Google integrations that you can add here. So maybe if you have a slide deck, you can hop into your Google Drive and pull in that slide deck just by clicking that Google Drive piece. We'll get into the Google integrations a little bit later because there's a lot more you can do with Google. But I just wanted to show you that feature, and how she got to that Google Drive is the little plug icon right there. So add all the information, resources, or scaffolds you think your students might need in that rich content editor. And then scroll down, and we've got some setting options for your assignments. You can choose to give it points, but maybe you don't want to give it points. You don't have to. You can decide to give it a percentage, maybe a complete or incomplete, because you just want to keep track of who is completed and who maybe is still working. A letter grade, GPA scale, maybe, maybe not, or that not graded piece. This is a great one if you just want to keep track of how students are doing. Maybe you don't want to stress parents out with a grade, even a complete or incomplete. You can just mark it as not graded, but still digitally collect all the students' work in one place on Canvas, so you're not bringing that stack of papers home with you. So that's one way to set the grading piece. And then you can assign it a group if you would like. So right now our group has quizzes, but you can assign it maybe reading, you can maybe assign it writing, whatever works best for you. And then the display grade ads that we just went over, you can also click that button as do not count this assignment towards the final grade. If you're using the grade book, but you don't want that score in there, this is a great thing to check again to kind of decrease that stress level of scores. And maybe you don't even want to put it in the grade book, just put it as not graded, and you can still collect all those assignments in one place. And then the submission type, this is another place where you've got a lot of flexibility. Online is great if students maybe are making something on Canva and you want them to submit it here without having to share it with you and clog your inbox. You can set it to online. You can also set it to no submission. So maybe students are doing something on paper, but you want to be able to provide them digital resources to access to do that assignment. You can put all those resources in that rich content editor, but just set this as no submission so they don't actually have to turn anything in on Canvas. On paper is another great one. External tools, we'll talk about that when we get into Google integration, so I'll come back. And then Lucid is a whiteboard feature, but it's more for secondary students. So we're going to move forward past that. Some other great settings in here is that sync to synergy piece. The sync to synergy piece is really useful if you are syncing grades to your Synergy gradebook. However, if you're not using a gradebook, just unclick that. Again, you can use these assignments as a place where you can collect student work and gather student data, but you don't have to populate a gradebook. That last little piece, assign to, you can assign to everyone, you can assign to specific students. It's absolutely up to you how you want to customize this. And then you can give it a due date if you choose. It automatically defaults to midnight. You can change that as well. And then the available from and until will hide assignments from students. So if you don't want them to see it until tomorrow, you can limit that availability right there as well. And then in the bottom corner is where you've got options to either save it as a draft, and that will allow you to keep working on it, but students won't see it, or you can save and publish. When you save and publish, then students can see it. If you've put a due date, it will populate on their calendar if you're using the calendar function, and students can access all the resources you put in that rich content editor. So let's go ahead and save there. Let's get into the Google LTI. Oops, sorry. One thing I did want to show you. Oh, motion light break. Apologies. Is rubrics. So you can turn on the enhanced rubrics editor and attach rubrics to an assignment. So you can either create it from here or you can go find a rubric. We can find a rubric here if you just clicks find a rubric, and then we'll click that number 2 sample formative rubric. This is a rubric that I've already created, and then we add it to the assignment. And then if she clicks preview rubric, we can see what it would look like. And we can X out of that. And then this is a clickable rubric that if I use SpeedGrader, I just click on those rubrics. You'll notice there's also enable self-assessment. That's because we've got the enhanced student features turned on. So students can actually use the rubric and assess themselves. And then that way you have an idea of where their understanding is of what that expectation is or their own success. This is a great way to build some ownership of learning. All you do is check that on. Rubrics are in that left-hand navigation bar. So if you would like to build a rubric, that's a great place to do it as well. Or like Brenda just modeled, you can create it right there on the assignment. All right, let's get into Google integrations. So we've talked about already how we can bring in Google products into an assignment, but we can use Google even more. So we're back editing this assignment, and we can use the Google external tool to push out templates to students where they can work on their own individual templates, like a Google Doc or a graphic organizer, and they don't have to share it with you. It's automatically shared with you and the student. So to use that Google LTI tool, we're going to select external tool under submission type and then click find. And then they're in alpha order. So Brenda's just scrolling for that Google LTI, and there it is, LTI 1.3, Google Assignments. She's going to click that. And then you'll be asked to link the external tool to your account. So she's going to press link. Just double check that you've got your Poway USD account. It's just loading. And then once you have your assignment linked, you'll get a screen that looks like this. This is where you can attach a template for students to work from. So she clicked attached, and then now she can pull anything from her Google Drive, a graphic organizer, a worksheet, a slide deck, anything she might want students to work on, and then populate with their own information. So she's going to click our slideshow and click add. And then what that will do is push out a version of this slideshow for every single student to work on. They get their own copy and it's already shared with you, so they don't need to share with you and fill your inbox. Then we've got 2 different grading options. You can do Google Assignments or Canvas SpeedGrader. Canvas SpeedGrader is a great way to go. So you can collect all of those Google assignments in your Canvas course and click through them. And again, you don't have to go find them in your inbox. And then she'll hit create, and that will push out assignments to every student in your class with the template that you want. So it's a great way to just be sure that every student has that template that you're looking for. All right, so now that we have it all set up, she's going to hit select. And then we'll scroll down to the bottom. And this is where you can choose, you can set the rest of your settings, save and publish if you're ready for students, save if you want to keep it as a draft. And then now we're back here at our assignment, sample 37. And then Brenda set this to load in a separate window. So you'll see that load sample 37 in a new window. That's where a student would click to then open the Google assignment. All right. Um, Brenda's gonna move on to our next topic. No.
And we've also gone over the gradebook and how you can use SpeedGrader to provide feedback to your students. So you know a whole bunch of things that Canvas can do for you and your elementary classroom, but how do you get started? So we want to show you, you can go in your global navigation bar, there's a feature over here called Commons. If you click on that, it's going to take you into the Canvas Commons. This is a shared resource across Canvas. And we have created several different templates for you. If you would like to use any of these templates, you can simply go in, click on the template name, and then you can take a quick look about what's available there. And if you like the template, you can go ahead and import it into your Canvas course. You just click on import. You would select this year's course, or if you have a, or if you have a demo course or a sandbox course, you can go ahead and import there. And then you would just click import content down at the bottom, and that will pull all of that template into your Canvas course, and then you can edit it from there. A lot of the templates have directions for how to edit some of the images that are included in them, and they may take you to a template in a platform, a design platform like Canva, where you can edit those images to help you prepare your course and pull in a customized template to match your student needs. All right. As a reminder, all of the resources that we shared today are shared with you in the Canvas Mix course. Again, on that homepage, we have a lot of resources for you as you get started with Canvas, and then also the link to the resources from today. And you can see that we have embedded this Google slide deck right here on this page for you, so you can interact with it. This is something that you can do with your students as well. And then they don't need to click to get to the slide deck. They can simply interact with the slide deck right within that Canvas page. So another great Google integration feature. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you've learned a lot about Canvas, and please remember that our team is here to support you and the work you're doing with your students. So please reach out. You can always reach us at our email, edtech@powayusd.com.
And then I just want to give a quick plug for what's coming next is our September EdTech webinar. We're going to look at AI use. That's September 25th, 3:30 to 4:15. I hope you can join us. And then if you need any digital citizenship or AI literacy resources, please check out that digital citizenship course that, just like the Canvas Mix, is in your courses in Canvas.